Hey, everybody at iShook Comics. We are live with our new guest, Mr. David Whalen, and our co-host, BL Blankenship,
That's
Mr.
right.
Blankenship. And he always eats, by the way. He cannot stop eating.
Dude,
24-hour eater.
the way that this podcast follows, like Victoria brings me the food in right when I get back from work. By the way, I'm having Zaxby's today, if anybody cares.
I have no idea what that is because I eat
Here,
kosher, guys. All right, anyway.
it's chicken. It's
Okay,
chicken and
just
French
say
fries and
chicken. What are
toast.
you giving this whole spiel, different titles of chickens, Anyway, as we are always here to learn, we're here to learn with our comics creators. We're here to learn from them, understand how the industry works, where they're at, what's going on. By the way, I'm actually excited right now that there's this whole revolution through TikTok and book publications, and Barnes and Nobles is becoming big again. Like, these are things I'm happy to hear. And again, I have recorded content. I don't promote. No, they're not paying me. I have recorded content. I have recorded
I
content where I
love you
said
for it.
Barnes and Nobles will crash, and it did. The retails, and now there's a resurgence, a resurrection. You can call it a second coming if you want. Anyway, but that's the story. So let's open up. David, give us a background. What is Correct-Handed Comics? What do you do, and where you go? And by the way, anyone who wants to get to his website right away, you can QR code David Whalen right here. It goes straight to his website, correcthandedcomics.com, I believe.
Awesome. Yeah, so Correct-Handed Comics. Clearly, I'm a southpaw, a left hand, and it was one of those things that kind of came up as someone who always drew and write and got in trouble for doodling all over his math homework as a kid. It was just kind of inevitable I would become, and I think we're in a perfect time right now, whereas we were just talking about creators are kind of booming right now. We're in a really good position to be able to create some weird, fun, cool things that I think maybe the big three aren't really able to do, because we kind of just are doing what we want to do. I always come from the vantage point that there are a million of me doing something similar to what I'm doing, which is creating as many cool books as I possibly can in the time span that I can. But I always try to also know that, what I'm creating by myself is a pretty singular thing that I think is really, really different and really fun. And I'm hoping to be able to continue to grow my audience, to be able to see the cool things that I'm doing. We started with our flagship title, The Offspring, and I just published issue 29 of our flagship title, The Offspring, which my plan is so we're chucking a lot of in between. Wow. There, I have 5 one-shots. I have 2 graphic novels that are 100+ pages, graphic novels. I have a 4-issue miniseries out there, and I'm also in the middle of writing my second book, my second novel. So if you asked me to stop creating, my answer would be hell no.
No doubt, no doubt. Ben, any questions for our great guest here, David?
Man, I've read some of his stuff. He does a great job. And let me tell you, Benny, I know this isn't like a question more than a monologue, but yeah, he's been rocking and rolling. He's been at it for quite a while. He's almost 30 books deep into his comics. He turns them around into trade paperbacks. He's got some standalone stuff, all that. So he's been at it for a while. That takes a lot of dedication, devotion. He doesn't just write his stuff. He draws it. He colors it. The whole shebang, all of it, from the top to the bottom, street level to office. It's all him. He's like the Twilight Zone thing, where like the judge and the cop and everybody, I think it's Tales from the Crypt too, are the same person. That's how left-handed stuff works. And everybody that works there, because it's him, they're all left-handed. I just think that he does a hot job at that. I was curious, Benny, if you had anything favorable or condemning to say to Hebrew National from going down from 7 hot dogs in a pack to 6. Do you feel that that's more kosher because they made 6 hot dogs and then they rested, or do you think that it should be 7 because that's the Lord's number?
I think the only reason why it went to 6 hot dogs from 7 or from 8 originally is because there's a shortage of meat. That's the only reason why.
Yeah. And I'm a hardcore fan.
I think it's just a practical thing. It's a money thing, guy. It's a money thing.
It is. It's good. It's good stuff. It's good quality stuff, man.
No doubt, no doubt. Again, you're plugging in companies that don't pay us any sponsorship. It's so bad.
I love food.
It's so bad. Like you got to understand, there's a producer here, and he's right in front of you.
Well,
You gotta
absolutely.
ask, bro. You gotta ask these things, bro. All right. Anyway.
If you ask, maybe they'll send you some stuff.
David,
maybe they'll
what
start
do
giving you
eat
some
while
money.
you're working on
No,
stuff?
no,
What
no.
is
We're
it
not
that
gonna
keeps
ask.
you-
We're not gonna ask. No, don't ask. Don't answer. Just tell us. Don't tell specific companies. Just say the food itself.
Well, I don't really eat if I'm eating. I guess I would do chips, I guess, while I'm working. I try not to because I'm analog, so it's all paper and ink and things like that. So if my hands are all greasy and blech, it gets all over the paper. So I usually really don't eat while I'm creating. I'll go binge something, and then I'll come back and with a full belly, then eat.
Question, David, by the way. AI, what's your take on it? Like, this is something I got to throw you on the curveball here. I mean, there's a lot of debate. I'm having a lot of debate with a lot of people who are producing for us and creating for us. I know AI is going to be used in the film industry. Is already used in the film industry. But what about the comic industry? There's a lot of AI that do storyboards or give you a little sensibility of where to start from, where to go. I know for you, maybe it's not relevant because you're creating your own content. As an indie developer, you are your AI. But what about those who are outsiders, trying to get in the business? What do you think?
I think that there's always a place for that kind of thing, but it's not in the place of human beings with brains that can create something better if being paid the right amount of money to do it. I think there are a lot of people out there to do it because maybe they don't have the money to be able to pay a creator. Maybe it's a writer who doesn't have the money to be able to pay an artist to be able to do it. But then I guess my answer to that would be then just make it a novel. Why use something that is not a human brain behind it if you don't have to? So, for comic books created with AI or movies or really anything created with AI, I think that we're going to start seeing diminishing returns because there's only so much that people will take that clearly wasn't written with the intent of a human, like with a human being's intent in it. And I think it's going to start maybe falling apart a little bit when it comes to maybe writing movie scripts or comic book pages. People are going to start to see those problems. They've already started seeing them. Those problems with the openings of TV shows or whatever it is. And if it doesn't have a human brain behind it, I think it's gonna start to lack that certain what's the word, je ne sais quoi, that would create something real substance. So
I saw a few creators saying that once it goes to AI, to CGI, then real content or realistic content creating will be more valued. We'll have more.
You lose your humanity too. It loses its humanity. And hopefully that's where we kind of are, where people will start to, kind of take all this AI stuff and then realize, oh, there's not really much to this. It's kind of the same thing over and over and over again. And that will kind of bring people back to things that they know was created by the hands of
but if an actual human being created it, but still side, help was done through AI, let's say when you do an animation, you want to maybe use the AI to fix here, fix there, David, corrective use, not necessarily main use.
Sure. Like I said, there's always a place for it. And I'll be completely honest with you. A couple years back, I'm a teacher in the daytime, and I started using AI to write my lesson plans. And quite frankly, it saved me hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work as a teacher. So while those lesson plans get written up, and I do look at it to make sure everything's where it needs to be, and I can adjust the lessons however I want to on the day. I will say that there is a place for it. But I think if it's used too much, it's like, everything's great in moderation. If you eat too much pizza, it's going to make you sick.
So this is what I tell people. AI is good for the professional, where they can understand the use of AI for time consumption, because you already know the material. You can do it yourself, but you don't want to do the 3-4 hours. You'll be able to receive the information properly. But a person who's an amateur, not educated, the AI is not for you. It's a crutch that will make you even dumber and stupider, and actually it's a dereliction of duty. You won't be able to succeed in actually promoting yourself and getting yourself further out there. So I think what it does is just dumbs a person who's not educated using AI. What were you mumbling?
I agree. It's
Ben was mumbling something. You have a problem, Ben? What's the problem?
No, I said that's the word I was hoping you were going to use. A crutch. It's really like a handicap, and I mean that like in sports terminology, where you give yourself more points because you suck, and you know, and so you're bowling and you're bowling
don't
and
know
you
what you
start
don't
up
know.
with like 100 or 150 points or whatever it is, because you're going to get a lot of gutter balls, and that way your end game doesn't look like it's as bad, but it's not real.
Yeah.
You know, AI is so
Yeah.
inconsistent with a lot of things. I have seen programs where people have did it like beautifully in different animation stuff. They've used real models. They've had them with T-shirts and put logos on them and all kinds of stuff like that. But I mean, I've seen some comic books and all that, and I think that it's inconsistent. And more so, I think that David has a lot of bitterness towards it because the artist that they're ripping off, I'll draw with the right hand, and he says that's incorrect.
Right-handed jerks. No, I think it's the rule is too, you know, when you're looking at somebody that works hours and hours and hours to perfect their craft, you can only break the rules when you know all the rules. Right. So to be able to have somebody who's just starts out and just kind of punches a half-hearted script into an AI thing to get some comic book pages, the flaws are going to show fairly quickly. So I think that that's something that like you said, if you know what you're doing, and if it comes from a place of I'm just going to use it to tweak here and there because we've got a limited budget or a one-man band or whatever it is, there's a place for it, but it's a tool. It's not the thing. It shouldn't be the thing that creates. It's
Correct.
a tool
That's
that
why I
helps
agree
you
with
create.
you. So we're in the same page because I do believe that AI, whatever can save our man hours to produce for more, faster, better, why not? I mean, it doesn't mean that what you're already going to create is not good. You can create the best creation in the world, but why not have that extra assistant, which could be an AI? Like we listen, I'll be honest with you, we did a hire with a bunch of a group of people to do our comic, and the numbers didn't match. The numbers weren't the numbers that an average comic should cost to make. And then it was a huge problem in my end. I did not like the results of that issue. And in general, we created two comics. One is called Loaded Deck, and the other is a graphic novel, which I think it's 40 pages plus is like a graphic novel. And that took us also, we created called Super Black. So those two IPs. Yeah. Say again.
Yeah. Super Black Discovery One of
Yeah.
Yes.
Written by B.L. Blankenship, created by Benny Rahman. All right. So anyway, so besides that, I mean, I personally think AI did help me a lot because in the production of it, I was able to give prompts to ChatGPT and say, this is what I'm looking for. And then I was able to say, no. Yeah. Can you correct it here? Can you correct it there? So like a prompt to a computer and an AI will give me the exact results I want to show to an illustrator. But for me to explain it to the illustrator, doesn't, it's like knocking on wood, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. I'd say that's probably the hardest part, is someone who's worked as a graphic designer for many years and someone who has worked with businesses and worked with people who want logos or whatever. They're like, here's a piece of paper, here's a pencil, draw what's in my brain. And I'm like, I don't know what's in your brain. I can't read your mind. And they're like, I've already told you what I want, just draw it. And I'm like, well, what you're saying doesn't really match what you're saying is what I'm drawing, but it's not matching what's in your brain. So it can be something to help clarify.
No doubt. That's what you need. That whole, by the way, graphic design, I'm a graphic design by trade. So graphic design itself. Yeah, Ben. I'm not going to judge you, Ben, in your graphic design. Anyway,
today I spent so much time. I had a beautiful design made for somebody. They came up with something else, and you'll get something that's made from AI from Canva. It used to be custom ink that people would do that like years back, and it's like, hey, can you rip off this custom ink design that I made to show you? But you'll get something from Canva. And it takes a long time to make, because we're talking vector art, because you're wanting it to come out smooth and what have you. So you're an Adobe Illustrator, and so it's that was some fun.
So I try to explain people, and I don't know if Ben is ever going to get this point, but there's a huge difference between graphic designer and brander. People who do graphic design don't necessarily know how to brand a company's logo for the next 20, 30 years. Yeah. Like if you look at our iShook's logo and the ClickTalk logo and all the logos that we're doing, These are logos that are done with a friend of mine who is a graphic designer, who's part of iShook's graphic design team. His name is Ben. He runs a company called graphic.𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗦, and he has done brands for businesses that the brand fits with the style of the service they're providing, which is very important. It has to look sleek. It has to look good. Listen, I went through a bunch of logos. Some logos we dropped. It just wasn't on brand, you know, like the 𝗧𝗧𝗥𝗦 logo. If you can see over here, our 𝗧𝗧𝗥𝗦 logo is a C and a T and a Q, right? So 𝗧𝗧𝗥, right? Let me show you the. Let's see if we can show the 𝗧𝗧𝗥 logo. Here, unshow, hide the see. Oh, so you see there's a C and a Q. So it's T, C, and Q. So the full letter is a Q, but within the Q is a C and a T. 𝗧𝗧𝗥.
I love that I'm having this explained to me. I've worked with major universities, with the Olympic trials, with big music festivals, with so many things. It's like 10 plus years graphic art. But anyway, go ahead, Benny.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. May God bless you in your service.
Bless you, yeah. 2 magazines. 3
Okay.
newspapers,
Okay. I got you. I got you.
screen
Yeah.
print.
We only have a $2 million company invested. That's, you know, potentially right now at valuation of $50 million with great branding. I mean, God forbid, 10 years and great branding. I mean, like he's, you know, up there and I'm down there. All right, anyway, going back to the reality. This is only good for good TV, guys. So getting back to the realities of what I wanted to say. So definitely with the prompts of ChatGPT, you can definitely resolve a lot of issues with regards to time, hours spent with an individual and trying to understand what they want. Or you can just tell them, listen, go to ChatGPT, prompt an image of what you want, find it out, then bring it to me and I'll make it a graphic branded design for you. That I think is the best role to do it. I mean, the best things to do for it. You cannot just rely on you know, AI to create for you a brand logo. You can do a quick logo for something small, but not a branded logo, not a Nike logo, not a Reebok logo. These logos take a lot of brains, a lot of people's involved to create such great logos that are you know, infamous for ends of time. So again, that's the same thing. I think a comic book is the logo, right? Is the logo. And one thing I don't get people is like they always fight, oh, the logo should be like this. No, the logo is going to be what I think will be to make the project successful. That's the reality. Like and I think each comic, and that's what I told Ben many times, each comic can have a different title logo, right? A different font, different title logo to match the design of the comic. I mean, that's the way I look at things in that level.
This really wasn't something that I was arguing, and I you don't even.
It's like I feel David is arbitrating between me and Ben.
You really don't want to get it.
I feel like I've got
He had a whole team of artists telling him things, and he's like,
and they're all wrong. They're all wrong. With all due respect. They are all wrong, and I'll tell you why they're wrong. Give me one of them that have a successful business or successful project, right? That they can give me any critique about a title logo. I mean,
said
honestly,
in Benny's,
it's so sad.
okay, Benny. I said in Benny's defense, I said he's paying for this. I said even if he is wrong, because that's the way that it works when you're a professional graphic artist. Shut up and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy signing the check is right. So do it.
You know,
shut up and do it. And you look at him and go, I need to tell you. But you can look at him and go, I need to tell you, that's going to look horrible. And they'll go, no, it's not going to look great. Well, and then you do it. You're like, it doesn't look great. You're like, no, they're like exactly what I want. So it's always very subjective. So
don't forget, an artist. One second, Ben. I gotta stop you, Ben. Give me a second. Yes, let's get order to this comic. You know, this podcast. All right. So what I do want to say is very simple. Even if you're a comic illustrator and you want to suggest a logo, it doesn't mean you're right because you said it either. What it needs to be now, this was my thing, and we're gonna do this by the way.
Go ahead.
Right, it is subjective. And I said, let's do a contest, a public contest of a logo or certain parts of your comic, and give an award, like a $2,000 reward, right, for the contest winner. That whoever can create the future logo of a certain comic or certain IP that we would have in our iShook Comics, department. And I think that's the best way of doing it, because you're getting public interest, you're getting you're getting new subscribers, new people following you, and you're getting not subjective and biased interest of what you think should be the logo. You're actually getting realistically, this is what a logo is based on the public. This is what the public voted on. So beautiful. There you go. That's where how you win so many things at a time. I think what the biggest problem is, and it's not like a person like you, David. A person like you has pure success because you've done the learning curve of a successful project. I can see, I showed the website. You've done a successful project, and it's always going to be successful. You got the quantity, you got the style. But what happens is when you have not professional amateurs, I call them. They're professional. They've done a lot of illustrations, but they're amateurs in the business game of comics. That's where they fail, I think, where they're creating suggestions that never have been tested in any business format. And I think that's the disconnect between comic peoples, illustrators, and the actual business aspect, is that they don't understand the business aspect. They just think they got to get paid, and that's it. Go ahead. Apologize.
Benny's awesome, and I love working with him. And I mean, I really stand up for this guy, and everything. I'm going to tell a story and leave a name out. He was talking to this person that was kind of interested in becoming a part of iShook. He didn't quite make it. And I had like a private conversation with this guy. And I told Benny, it's like, man, I said, if somebody out, like not me, because I've been in leadership, was talking to this guy and ran with all the stupid things that he was saying, it would cause like a mutiny. He's like, you're the professional. You're the writer. It doesn't matter what he thinks. Okay, so I work as a professional graphic artist, and if I show somebody a version 1 and 2 of something, and if I think that 2 is better, but if they want 1, I don't say kiss my butt, we're doing number 2. That's not the way any of that works. But this dude was like, man, you're a genius. You need to go with it. And it's like, if he was talking to somebody that didn't know how the world really works from doing this as a real sit-down paid job all these years, I'm like, this would cause problems. I had Benny alluded to it, and I'm not going to go into a big thing about it, but I would tell people, I'd say, he's paying you money to just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
If you want to die on this hill and you want to say that's it, whatever, but that just seems insane. And it was minor stuff like that. It was the way the logo looks, and I think
whatever. That's David, what about you? Have you ever gotten into any pros and cons with other third parties?
Yeah, like I said, I was a graphic designer for about a decade before I became a teacher, and I worked for a company called I won't name the company, but I was the head graphic designer for a branch in another state. And there were times where people would come up and people would come into the office and say, we want this, we want this, we want this. And I would give them this, this, and this, exactly what they asked for. And then they come back and go, that's not what we asked for. And everything's taped, everything's written down, this is exactly what you asked for. And I said, well, it is. And I agree with you. It doesn't look great. So what do we need to do to be able to move forward? How can we make your idea in your brain that I can't see come onto the paper? What do we need to do? Let's sit down and let's figure it out right now. And within usually a half hour, I could have them smiling about whatever it is I was about to create. So, and usually somebody who does it isn't a graphic designer, and Betty probably attests to this. If you sit in front of them with your Mac and Illustrator's right there in front of you, and you start building in front of them, oh wow, how'd you do that? Where'd you get that? How'd you know that? Where did this? Within 15, 20 minutes, they're hooked. They're happy. We're good. Let's move forward with whatever else we need to do. So there will be. I would never get into arguments with somebody asking me for a logo. I would offer suggestions, and if they didn't take them, okay. What else would you like
you mentioned? You're the client, and they're the client. You're not the boss. They're the boss of you, right? Yeah. Right. What about in the comic? What about in the comic industry? Like, have you paid people, or you do everything yourself?
There has been times when I have worked with people. Usually I do when I have an artist that I want to bring in, or a colorist that I want to bring in, or a writer that we kind of want to work together. It's usually because we get along on some level, or knew each other on some level before that, even if it was just over the internet. And it's usually like, hey, if you come in and do this, I'll do this. Okay. And usually everybody's pretty happy. There are a few artists that I have given money to, paid for their services, of course. because I thought that they were went above and beyond what I asked them to do, and it was a little bit more than what I was doing for them in that scenario. So I'm like, you this is more than what I asked you to do. I'm going to give you some money. And they're usually like, oh no, I don't need it. I'm like, shut your mouth. I'm giving you money because it's worth it. I mean, what's the old saying that if you can do something well, don't do it for free. So if I'm doing a trade with somebody to where they need a cover or they need, script polished up or they need whatever it is, if they do the thing plus, I'm either going to plus up what I'm doing or say, what else do you need for this? Or I'm going to give them money. It's, for me, it's not really a question because they're talented people doing things that not everybody can do. So it'd be kind of like insulting.
So you're bartering the services
to not
more or less.
Yeah, and it's for me, that's always the best way to go. I'm not in a position to hire a million people to be able to write and draw and ink and all those kind of things. In fact, I enjoy being a one-man band, but I also enjoy working with people from time to time. I have brought in people, a colorist who works with, his name is Chris McGauley, and he's amazing. He works with Bram Stoker, and he does a lot of Dracula fame, the son of, not the actual. And he does a lot of stuff with Dracula, comic books and things like that. And I've done some stuff here and there for him. But he came in, he called me one day and said, I really like what you're doing. We had talked briefly, online about stuff. And he called me up and said, yeah, I love what you're doing. What do you need? What can I do to help you? And I said, well, quite honestly, I'm getting a little behind. If you could color this, 3-story arc, I would love it. And then you tell me what you need. Wow, he said, done. Wow. Done. So I started giving him pages and he started coloring and it looked amazing. And it worked out perfectly for the story because it was the first time my characters in the Offspring time travel back into the American Civil War. So the kind of shift in the coloring worked perfectly for the shift in the environment. Which issues is that exactly? So it just
which issues is that when they travel back to the 19th century?
That is issues. Oh gosh, issues 16, 17, 18. Oh boy, you're testing it. You're testing them. I'm 90% sure it's 16, 17, 18. But the covers are very obvious that they've shifted or that they've time traveled back to the Civil War. So so it really worked out, and I did a couple things for him, and he was glowing in his reviews of what I was creating, and I was very, very appreciative of his positive reviews and the things that he had said and done for me. So it really is, for me, meeting those independent creators and having a chance to be able to say, what do you need? Let's help each other out. And it's one of the best parts, I think, about being an indie creator is I can sit in my room by myself and I can create a whole book all by myself. And I can do that for months and months and months and months. But then when I reach out or somebody else reaches out and says, because I would hope that I have developed enough of a following and enough of a reputation of being, at the very least, a reliable creator that's going to get stuff out on time, to be able to talk to other creators and to be able to help each other out, I think is one of the greatest parts about being an indie creator in the area, the realm that I am. So it's worked out well.
Wow. I love that. Any questions, Ben?
So what kind of pen or what kind of brush or whatnot do you ink with? Because pencil is pencil usually, but what do you ink with?
So these guys here, Faber-Castell, pretty normal stuff. You get them Michaels, and I can show you one of the pages here. So I've got one here that's penciled. I'm right in the middle. Hold on, let me scan here. I'll show you a cover. So here is the, excuse me, guys. Here are the pencils. Bump.
Wow.
Here's the cover. And it turned out, I think it's one of the best covers I've ever done. I'm continuing way after they had gone back into the American Civil War. They came back.
Is that gladiatorial?
You what? They're in ancient Rome now. And each time frame that I chose for this time travel story, there's a reason they're doing it. One of the reasons is because I love time travel stories and I want them to time travel. But there is story-wise, there's a reason for what they're doing and why they're doing it and why they're being pulled back further, back into time. And I tried to choose time frames, first of all, that I wanted to draw, that I wanted to work a little harder to be able to make sure that everything looked like that thing. And to varying success on some level, some of it, but I really loved the process of putting it all together, and being able to find places in history that I love, that I wanted to wrap a story around. And it has been, quite frankly, for characters that I've had since I was 17 years old, and I'm not 17 years old anymore. I'm turning 50 this year. That for characters that I've had so long, to be able to build a story that is almost better than what I had in mind, when I started at 17 years old. Of course, it's grown and changed with me as I've gotten smarter, hopefully. But to be able to get this far in the story and have it turn out pretty much how I wanted it to, it has been an amazing journey for me as a creator myself. So, and to be able to put out some other books in the process is something that that I didn't know I could do 10 years ago. So now that I know I can do it, I'll never stop.
Which time period?
I'll never
which
stop.
all time periods do you have?
You
You said that you did the ones that you want to do. What time periods are you in love with?
Yeah, so I try to stay away. Obviously, we just talked about like Roman. They're in ancient Rome right now, and that's one that is pretty done and well known. And people go, "Let's go to ancient Rome." But I have one of the first time travel stories after they get thrust back into time again. They're in the American Civil War. They come back. There's a whole big journey across America storyline that I had for a couple of the characters. But then they get thrust into World War I on the RMS Lusitania. And if you know anything about the Lusitania, you know it did not go well for them. Then they go back into time into 15th century France. And one of the characters, all of the characters are being like thrown into reincarnations of themselves. So, and there's again a story reason for why they're going back in time and kind of like being sucked back into their old reincarnated, old selves. Then being kind of, I guess, de-incarnated over time, be able to go back further. So one of the characters, it's the first time one of the characters is actually a famous person. She's the reincarnation of Joan of Arc. And that becomes an integral part of the story. Then as they continue back further into ancient Rome, the bad guy is Nero, the Emperor Nero. So starting to see like the very violent, very death-ridden parts of history that these characters are being thrust into for a real reason. The main bad guys are doing, and it's been really fun to be able to kind of draw those battles and draw those wars and draw those shipwreck spoilers, to be able to wrap it around this story that I'm creating.
Those are all super neat periods in time. Have you ever heard that like the Roman emperors, that their goblets were made of lead, and that added to them going like completely nuts? Yeah,
the
lead poisoning. They used to call tomatoes were like considered a bad thing in like early America. They used to call them red devils, and it's because the silverware was made of lead, and when you would get a tomato, because of the acid in it, and you would eat it off of your lead fork, you would take in much more lead than otherwise, and it's like, well, it's that red devil. It's the silverware.
Yeah. Isn't history amazing? Like more people, like if more people knew more history, first of all, we'd be in a completely different place, I think, in the world. But I think that history is so amazing. I love like watching even things like that are part of history, but are also like very sci-fi or very like horror. I'd say like what's the one? Like ghost stories that are wrapped in the past. Like when you talk about ghost stories in Gettysburg and ghost stories in like, the far South and ghost stories in wherever it was, to be able to see that history in there. And then maybe there might even be ghosts. Pretty awesome stuff. So anytime there's any kind of like weird facts about history or weird things about history, I'm all in. I'm ready to go, and I'm going to try to like weave that in and out of some of the things that I'm creating. So yeah, I love those kind of little snippets of fact.
I love that.
Of history.
I love
awesome.
historical fiction. I recently just saw Prey. You know, it's in the Predator franchise, and like that, I like Pathfinder too. Those are both Native American things and whatnot. But yeah, it's cool. When you say the Roman stuff, there's a bunch of good ones. I didn't watch Gladiator 2. I like the first Gladiator. I'm a
Dave Portnoy said it's the worst movie ever. His review, it's the worst movie ever.
That would be a big
ever. That sounds like a little bit of hyperbole to me. Sounds like a little bit of hyperbole. Ever?
There's so many bad movies. It's like, really?
Yeah. There's a lot of bad movies. Let me see. Yeah. You know, there's have you ever read Ben, have you ever read John Jakes? North and South
miniseries.
He's got a series of books that I started reading when I was probably 21, and they're books. They're not books, they're books. And he's got a series of, I'm trying to remember the name of the family, but it's a family that follows from the French Revolution into like colonizing America, into World War II, into like it follows this family all through the history of the last 300 years, and it's amazing. John Jakes, give it a shot. I'm trying to remember the name of the first book in that series, but he wrote North and South.
The miniseries is based on Patrick Swayze and all them.
Yeah, I believe that. The one with Patrick Swayze from the 80s.
One was horrible, but the first two was like some of the best television of all time. David Carradine is such a piece of garbage in it. Everybody wants him to die. David Carradine hates women and beats his slaves, Benny. He's the jerk. They set him up for you to want Patrick Swayze to murder him in cold blood when he knows kung fu.
Yeah.
I like that show too.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah,
interesting.
So just for viewers, if they like historical fiction, John Jakes.
Yeah, guys, check it out. Where would they find? Just Google it, right? They can Google it.
Yeah. Just Google. Just he's on Amazon. I bet. Go to your local library and ask them for John Jakes. I'm sure they have it. I don't know why I'm plugging John Jakes. Other than that, his books are amazing.
It's all good, man. That's easy to remember. Just drop the Jingleheimer Schmidt. Yeah.
So I think I found the review.
Nice.
I think this is the review
on this movie.
Yeah, 1 second.
That's a big search of the worst movie.
This is Gladiator 2.
That's like hard, man. Because it's like if you can name one that's worse than that.
Worse than
let's see what he says. Let's see what he says. 1 second.
Quick rant because I'm that mad. I've been saving Gladiator 2 for like a couple months now.
We got an echo.
I love Gladiator 1. I'm like, I need a Saturday night when I'm locked in.
1 second.
We got a little bit of an echo, but he sounds clear other than that.
Yeah, I gotta take off.
So he's mad. He's mad.
I have another.
Go
ahead now.
Seatbelt on, popcorn, Cheez-Its, you name it. Like I'm ready to roll. I lock in. I buckle up. How has nobody told me that Gladiator 2 is like the worst movie ever fucking made? You're telling me it's a 71 critic score on Tomato and an 82? Puke. This movie sucked. It was so not believable in any of it. Who cast the two emperors? The twin emperors. What, they take 1 second casting those fucking clowns? Like those clowns would be emperor of Rome. They get fucking their heads cut off in 1 second. Denzel, who goes from like buying Paul Mescal, the slave, like buying him to waltzing into Rome, and he's like king 3 seconds later. Like what world are we talking about? This movie sucked. I hope you don't watch it. Ridley Scott should be ashamed for making the sequel. I hope Russell Crowe puked on himself. The Gracchus, the guy with the white hair who's in the first one, like the Senate speaks for Rome. They just kill him like he's a nobody. The queen, the lady, she gets fucking murdered. Why do we have Paul Mescal and his son both in the movie, but they don't know each other? The whole thing stinks. I wouldn't wish this. I can live with the sequel where everyone's like, it's the worst sequel ever made. I think they did that with Point Break. Everyone's like, oh, it's so bad, it's funny. Rotten Tomatoes, what is there's got to be some sort of conspiracy in Rotten Tomatoes. Somebody is getting paid under the table at Rotten Tomatoes. A 71.82 for Gladiator 2. That movie, I'm 0-3 gambling today. 0-3. If you gamble, that parlay, it stinks. If you gamble, you buckle up to take your mind off things. I got madder about my gambling picks as it went because the movie was that bad.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, now I want to address something that David said.
Is it? One second. After watching David Portnoy, I'm like, you know what? He's right.
Okay.
The points that he said is right. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Okay, I want to address something that David said. So he said worse than Mac and Me. I watched Mac and Me, but not the normal Mac and Me, the Mystery Science Theater 3000, which makes everything golden. Mac and Me, and it was hilarious because the guy would have on the glasses and he would have off the glasses, and when they'd be like clicking casually back and forth, it was like a really bad edit, and they're like, "Hey, nice glasses. Hey, where did your glasses go?" And they call out every stupid thing in that movie, and you cannot help but laugh and love it. They take the biggest pieces of trash. That tells you how bad Mac and Me was. That it's like such trash, and it's like, let's just make this, but let's make it good because we're gonna make fun of it because they make it so easy.
Yeah, I think that, and any MSEK fan would know what I'm talking about. I think Manos Hands of Fate was not that bad of a movie.
That was like the first thing,
that was the first one they did, and it was a train wreck of a movie, but a hilarious episode of MST3K. So if you haven't seen the Manos Hands of Fate one, check it out. Hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious.
I like the God Monster one where it's the dinosaur out in the Old West thing, and that movie's like horrible, and they finally show this like claymation dinosaur towards the end. It was they made it fun.
Yeah,
I think for some reason Gladiator as a first movie was so powerful.
It was great
in the plot and everything, and it was so heroic that they said, okay, let's make another movie. They kind of rode that I guess that repertoire that they already had. And in reality, he's right. The plot, if you really think about it, wasn't so crazy. It wasn't a crazy plot.
You guys have both seen Gladiator 2? You guys both saw Gladiator 2?
No, I've only seen the first one.
Oh, okay.
So you can tell my assumption is that I don't care. I refused to watch it because I said that I've heard that it was going to suck, and so I didn't watch it.
Well, Portnoy said it's one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah.
So I dodged a bullet.
I think I don't know. I think you did dodge a bullet, but at the same time, I think it was. I think what's happening in the movie industry, there's no more original thinkers. They're all afraid. They want to make sure that they're putting money on something that they know will make money, and that's what's happening. There's no more, and because already, if you look at the risks that they took for original movies, they're flopping.
You know what's making money?
Really flopping. For example, wasn't there the Brad Pitt movie and like a bunch of other A-listers, and it lost like $300 million? What was that movie called?
Is it Babylon? Is that what you're talking
about?
Yeah,
Babylon. Yeah.
Babylon. You know what's making money right now?
I never watched it, but whatever.
I've never seen it either. What's making money right now is Dogman. Dogman is blowing it up in the theaters. That's a kid's graphic novel through Scholastic. He has the power of a dog and a kung fu cop, and of course the villain is a cat, because cats are sneaky. And so the cat's trying to take over the world, and it's animated, and people.
Oh, it's like the kids' style of animation. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Despicable Me 4 was great. All the Despicable Me movies are, adults and kids can all.
No, because Despicable Me, I'll tell you why it's been great. Despicable Me has the same feeling as Pokemon. It has the same style as a Pokemon, where people are in love with the minions. No one's in love with Gru. Everyone is in love with the minions, the character, the style, the speech, the funniness, the naivete.
You don't love Gru. What about his wife? You don't think that his wife and the relationship there? You don't like?
No, but I think the minions characters has been able to prolong the series of these movies.
Yeah,
because you have minions who are multitudes of characters and personalities. and they can do multitudes of things, and they're like superheroes. You beat them, you kill them, they never die. It's something interesting about these guys.
What is it, Larry and Bob and
whatever it is, it's Bob, but it's everyone, it's every minion. And don't forget, see, you also not understanding the minion concept has been produced in Apple in Apple video games, in games in Android. I mean, the Minions itself has become very successful as a character.
My wife likes the Minions, for the record.
Everyone loves the Minions.
Yeah,
every kid loves the Minions. Who doesn't like the Minions? If you don't like the Minions, there's something wrong with you. Wow. That's what I say. That's my opinion.
Okay. I think
I hope you like the Minions. If David doesn't like the Minions, he's kosher. Don't worry about it, guys.
Are they left-handed? That's what he cares about.
If I didn't like the Minions, I'd be a 𝗖𝗛𝗦. That's for sure. I tell you.
Yeah, you'll be a 𝗖𝗛𝗦, of course. No, but seriously, I think the Minions character. Again, I didn't mean to insult anyone who doesn't like the Minions. My point was
who would that be, Benny?
I don't know. It could be anyone listening to us in the future.
One dude gnashing their teeth watching this.
I don't know who. I never saw anyone not like the Minions. Honestly,
okay. I want whoever it is, we want you to write.
Huh?
We want whoever it is that doesn't like the Minions to write.
Yeah, comment if you like the Minions.
Tell us right now. Don't just tell us you don't like them. Tell us why you don't like them.
Yes, I want to know why as well. Yeah, you have to give a reason. You can't just say I don't like the Minions. Yeah. I mean, what's the reason?
Don't do what I call drive-by debating. Don't just go, I hate it, and run away. Tell us why you hate it.
I love that. Drive-by debating. Wow. That's awesome.
You'll be sitting there having a conversation with people, deep conversation about whatever, and they'll just walk by and go, I think it's just because of this. And then you walk away, and then you can't talk to them about it because they're already gone.
We need video clips called drive-by debating. That's comedic gold. Just say something and just run.
Just run away. Yeah, you can't prove anybody wrong if you run away. That's why they do it because
there's no
comment if they run away.
So it's just a statement and boom, you just dash, bro. I mean, that's crazy.
They don't want to hear what you have to say. They just want to say their thing.
Benny can get on and he can say when Hebrew National dropped the 7 hot dogs down to 6, they failed all Jewish communities. See you. And Ben Blankenship.
Nice.
No, but I think the Minions is one in the character. And then you also have but look at Toy Story, failure, right? Because Toy Story was never about the characters. It was always about the lessons learned from Toy Story. So when they started to change the lessons of Toy Story, it flopped.
Okay, which Toy Stories are we? Because 1, 2, and 3 were solid. What? How many have there been?
4. Is there 5? Oh my gosh!
I think there were 5.
Okay.
I think the last Toy Story was what flopped because they made
the first one was the kid was young.
They made what's his name? I'm not gonna say, but they made one character not,
Yeah.
They created an identity for the character that did not fly.
So did you hear that Rings of Power that they are discontinuing that, and apparently Amazon was getting money because there was like enormous amounts of money because of the diversity of the characters on Middle Earth, and now that they're not going to be given money for which would be considered like propaganda DEI and whatnot, they're not going to be doing it. So they were being paid money to make characters that are from Norse and Anglo-Saxon type
of world. Are we talking about politics right now? About the Trump's? I don't want to talk about it.
Guys, you're getting close. You got to shut that down real quick.
I got to shut that down. You could just say Amazon. Amazon.
We're just trying to have a good time, guys. We're just trying to have a good time.
Yeah. Please shut that down. No, because I don't want it. Listen, they have all these rules with Google and all that. Listen. The bottom line is, if your movie is based on a fundraise, then it's a disaster. Of course, it's going to get canceled. That's just reality, right? Like we had a discussion a few days ago about Amazon Prime's King David movie, or series, and I said, listen, that they already flopped it from the beginning. King David was a redhead, and he did not look the way they wrote that he looked. He was actually redheaded and pale. He didn't
You know
look.
that people don't know like jack about the Bible though. Period.
No,
I
but
mean,
but again, you're Amazon Prime, who just bought. Well, didn't they buy Warner Brothers? I mean, like, you would know. You would need to know. Do your research, like you do in any other movie. You do research. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
I do, but I mean, I don't know that these other. And again, I've voiced my my discrepancies against Netflix and how they're going to destroy Chronicles of Narnia.
Of course, they're going to destroy it. They destroyed it the first time.
Based on the fact that the director is the director of the Barbie movie.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Oh my
that
goodness.
they're going to
That's
wreck
a
C.S. Lewis's
disaster. What do you think about that,
masterpiece.
David?
I think that creating things is hard. So if you try to create things, people are gonna hate on it. People are gonna love it. It doesn't matter. Create
That's
your
true.
thing.
Yeah.
Create your thing.
But these, you don't think these big companies are really putting their tentacles and ruining a lot of these projects?
I would say that the with some of these things, you get so many cooks in the kitchen, and they have so many people who want to say so many things about social whatever it is on either side.
Right.
That by the time it gets to the big screen or to your TV or whatever it is, the message is lost, the story is lost, and what you wanted to do and what the thing you wanted to say probably got lost also. So I think that throwing money at a thing is never really good. If you spend what's a price now for a movie? $200 million. Is that a normal big budget movie nowadays? I don't know.
All right, yeah, about.
You have to go back and put in another $100 million because something went wrong. Then you hired the wrong people, and maybe the producers were the wrong people to make the thing.
By the way, I want to say something that I tell people all the time, and it simplifies what you're saying. When you try to appease everyone, you end up appeasing no one. So you have to just take one segment of society and just cater to them. You want to make another movie, make a separate movie for another group of society.
Do you know what was made dirt cheap and made huge amounts of money? The Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah.
It was done stupid dirt cheap. It's like, let's make a film at a campground with a dude with a hockey mask with like gallons of fake blood.
Right. Also, what's it called? And also the franchise, the other franchise that's successful, Scream. The Scream franchise was still going.
Yeah,
still going because it's simple. It's a simple story, simple idea, and it's being repetitive, and they're always successful. Anyway, wait.
I would say one thing, and I'm going to push back a little what you just said there about how when you're making a thing, do it for a certain demographic. I think that there's a place for that, but I think that's maybe one of the problems is that people are making things for swaths of people instead of making things for themselves. Like a creator who writes a script and writes a comic or wants to put on a TV show because they love the thing and hope that there's enough people out there that would also love that thing. I think that's where you get your most success when you're trying to say, I'm gonna cater to this group or this group or this group. Then it kind of makes it feel like you're like baby talking them a little bit, you know what I mean? Or pushing that whatever your agenda. Everybody's got an agenda. There's all kinds of propaganda out there, good or bad or whatever. So I think that
to make money on the comics.
Yeah, one thing we've gotten away from, I think, is just an individual person or a small group of people making something because they love the thing and hoping that others will like it also, instead of we're going to make a movie for this group and let's make sure we get $300 million out of our $200 million investment, instead of let's make a cool thing that might actually say something real or say something that will help people in society on some level, and maybe have a cool car chase or maybe have a this or that or a funny thing, make it funny, whatever it is. But I think that's maybe one of the problems. They're trying to put out so much for groups instead of somebody having a good idea.
Not just that.
And trying to see it through.
Well, what I meant to expand on what I meant is, for example, we had many podcasts, I think, with Chuck Dixon and a few others and many of them were consistent in saying this, that what ends up happening is when you have a Marvel X-Men comic and you have to be true to its following. And if you start changing up for your bias, then you're ruining the following that they're like loyal followers of that comic. Like I'm an X-Men
Chris
fan.
Claremont is saying exactly what you're saying right now.
Right.
By the way, he got up at an LGBTQ thing, and he said, the X-Men were never written this way. There's spaces between the panels, and you can take it however you want. But he said, but they're people with superpowers that are just trying to live normal lives and be seen as normal people, and not as like superheroes. They're just trying to fit in and live normal lives. They happen to have superpowers and things that make them different.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think that's the reality. When you invoke and project what you are into a project that has a following of millions of people, and you taint it from your bias, I think that's not fair. Because
I think you kind of hit you hit on the head there with bias, and I think that here's the thing that I try to remember. So and I'll give an example of like the CW shows. At the beginning, I really loved most of the CW shows, the Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. I was really enjoying them, and as it kind of went on, I kind of lost interest, and it wasn't really, what I thought it should be, what I expected in my brain. And then I kind of realized that, what were those, 7 years ago ish or so? So I was still in my, 40s, well into my 40s. And then I kind of realized that I am no longer the demographic. I'm not the ones that they're doing it for. They're doing it for a younger demographic to try to get younger viewers in. So they're doing things for younger generations that younger generations would connect to be able to bring that younger viewership. Because, like it or not, with the three of us, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like gross about it,
you can say,
but we're gonna be dead soon.
Right.
Younger kids are going to live longer than we are, right? And
that you're the oldest one here in this podcast, by the way. Because when you were talking about age, I'm like, man, he looks younger than either one of us, and you've got several years on both me and Benny.
It's all good. I mean, but you're saying
it's all those tomatoes I'm eating.
Right, but what you're saying is correct. What you're saying is correct, but I think what the people's are forgetting another demographic. We're talking about the current generation. The next generation could be just like us. We don't know. I mean, because there's a huge shift happening in
it's all going to come back. It's like hoop skirts and sock hops, baby. Hoop skirts and sock hops. Let's do it.
I'll be honest with you. Joe Rogan had today a thing that came out with Brett Weinstein, and he says I'm not talking politics. I'm just saying what they're saying. All right, that the monies that are being distributed are showing that DEI was actually a fabricated, manufactured idea. It's not a social idea. And that's the differences. When you have fabricated ideas, not social ideas. Like, for example, if in society, right, we want to hit a certain demographic, why not create a new IP like manga does? And they're very successful for that demographic.
Bearded men.
Or whatever it is, they have all the spectrums.
Very specific niche thing, like
as opposed
bearded men who snack during podcasts. That's
right.
Pretty
right. Or for example, or like for the point I'm trying to say is, as opposed to hijacking a Superman comic and changing the whole point of Superman and who he is. Right, like you're converting Superman to your ideology. Let's make Superman a rabbi now. I mean, like, come on, like it doesn't make sense. That's not what Superman is, right? We can't project the Superman to the original state of the character when it was created. So if you want to create a new superhero that is representative of your community, open and create for that demographic a new hero, new IP. But I think the reason why they're not doing it is because they don't want to go to people like David and say, David, we want to give you $10 million for your IP. Can we do a little changes for this demographic and do here? They don't want to give you that money for that license.
Yeah.
Two, they don't want to spend the money on the new project that might flop. I mean, they don't have such good records with the new movies that they're doing. They're flopping.
Exactly they have known IPs that they know people are going to recognize right away. So I liken it to kind of when they did the death of Superman in the 90s,
Yes.
And he came back and he had long hair, and it was like, he has long hair. That's not Superman. Rah, long hair, Superman. This is ridiculous. Ah, rah, rah, rah. But I mean, if your wife gets a haircut, she's still your wife, guys. Everybody relax, you know? And then they did the blue Electro Superman. It was like, that's not Superman. He doesn't have electrical power. And it was just like a year-long storyline that they thought would be fun. And then they reverted back to the original costume,
Superman.
the original Superman. And then they have, you know, the Elseworlds Black Superman, or they have now there's a Superman who's in a superhero who's in the Superman family, who is, I believe he's Japanese. I don't know his name. I haven't been able to keep up on all that. But it really is. I think that here's how I've decided to see it. Again, as somebody who's no longer the demographic, here's how I've tried to see it. Anything that brings a new group of people to a way of telling stories that I love, I'm down. So if they have a 4-issue story arc where Superman, I don't know, pick a weird thing that Superman could be or do or whatever it is, you know what I mean? I'm down with it if it gets eyes on Superman, if it gets eyes on comic books, because that would bring them from Superman to maybe they'll step over to the next aisle and they'll see some independent stuff. Maybe they'll slip over to the next aisle and they'll see something else they like. So for me, it's kind of like I see it as like Elseworlds, to where they're trying to show people that these things can be more than the sum of their parts. And Superman will always go back to being Superman. That's not going to change. Superman will always be Superman. But
they did something exactly like you're saying. They made Superman as if he landed in Russia.
Yeah, great.
That's amazing. That's an amazing storyline. Like something like that. Like, wow, alternate reality of what Superman could have been if he landed in Russia as opposed to US. Like these are like Soviet Union, Russia, USSR. Like that's crazy stuff. Like that fits in what you're saying.
Hey, Benny,
like, I love that way you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to address any of these comments that are being typed or not, but you can if you want to, however you want to. I'm just saying it so you look. But
I don't know. We have comments. I didn't even check.
Yeah, from a former iShook staff member. But yeah, man, you know, there have been several Batmans. I'm going to give Benny a minute here to do whatever he wants to do or not do. There have been several Batmans. There's been a Bruce Wayne, and then he had his back broken, and you had Azrael kind of step into place, and then he's
Jean-Paul Valley.
Yes, right? Yeah, and then of course Terry McGinnis is Batman Beyond, and then you have Damian Wayne, where there's been some stuff that's shown how he would be he's like he's basically the Punisher.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's a neat movie where they had Bruce Wayne going ahead and like looking ahead into the future and seeing Damian Wayne, and Damian Wayne was dressed like Batman. He just like pulled out a gun and went to mowing people down or whatever. And Bruce Wayne hugs him and says, "I'm sorry for being a neglectful dad," which that's a hardcore story, and I believe that they retconned it. I don't know if you know the story or not, Benny, but Ra's al Ghul's daughter, she got Bruce Wayne drunk, and she
they changed that whole storyline, by the way.
She date raped him, and that's how Damian Wayne came to be, which is an awesome story, and it's totally what Ra's al Ghul's daughter would do.
It falls into the sequence, because there was also in I think the first Batman from the 90s, the 90s Batman cartoon, that Ra's al Ghul's daughter was in a love interest with him, so they just built off that, right? And it was accepted. No one really went against it. It was it was cool. But yeah, listen, I think, like you said, if you change the story arc, don't change the identity, then they would have had a most power. And I think James Gunn is doing it now with Superman, the new one that's coming out. They actually brought the Superman dog. What's his name again? Crypto. Yeah, they brought Crypto in the movie. They brought a bunch of peoples in the movie. It's going to be an epic movie. I think this movie is going to be a crazy movie. I think he did.
Fun.
Yeah, I think his hands in X-Men and MCU was really big. I think he changed the whole thing, and I think once he left, it's falling apart, honestly. And I think James Gunn is doing revitalization of DC. He said, "Okay, I think this guy's a genius. Honestly, he's a genius in presenting the story to reality in a realistic format. Not to knock out what was done in DC prior. I still like what was done in DC prior was with what's his name, Snyder, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the biggest problem, and once again, I'm going to reiterate, creating things is hard. So I'm not one to sit here and say they did this right, they did this wrong. But I really do think that they really haven't hit on who Superman is yet since Christopher Reeves, because Superman to me is that beacon of hope. You know what I mean? And they had that. I mean, it was there. But I think that if you don't walk out of the theater after a Superman movie wanting to be Superman and wanting to change the world for the better, then your movie was not as successful as you wanted it to be. I know that's like easy for me to sit here and say. In my,
you're right. That was Ninja Turtles, man. As like a kid, Ninja Turtles, and you wish that you had like a nunchuck to like swing around and all that.
If you don't want to watch, if you don't walk out of there wanting to save the world, then something went wrong.
I know what went wrong. I know what went wrong is that these comics were built on America. You know, the powerhouse of America is the hope of freedom and all that stuff. Yeah. And what happens is that in today's society, some people don't believe that, right? So and we associated these comics to the American, the American, the American journey and the World War II. I mean, most of these comics were associated to build hope and especially in the army and to give morale, increase morale. So the whole origin story of these comics, they don't believe in if you don't believe in that origin story, then you're gonna taint the comic to what it is. And I think that's what's happening.
Well, I think also that they're, every 20, 25 years or so, these characters need to be updated, like John Byrne did with Superman, Man of Steel, like something like that, to be able to because every 25, 30 years, society is going to be different. We are, somebody who grew up in the 70s and 80s, it's clearly not the 70s and 80s anymore. It's a completely different time with a completely different mindset. But I think it's also to where people are starting to understand that it's not so black and white. It was never black and white. But all those grays are starting to be more clear, are starting to be more shown more. And people are starting to realize that it's not this or this. It's all these things. And right or wrong, subjective, that's none of my business. Do your thing. But I think that that's something that we're seeing in pop culture and especially in comic books, because we talked about this a little bit, to where they're changing or making these characters that we as Gen Xers don't really recognize, that recognize in ourselves, but the younger viewers do. The younger viewers recognize them in themselves. So
with your theory, it's a little bit complicated, because I don't know if you saw the new Fantastic Four trailer.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and they're bringing it back to the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Is that when it is?
Let's see if it works. I hope that it works.
I don't know. You think it's going to work? I don't think it's going to work.
Is Gen X the demographic? If it is, then it's going to work like gangbusters. if they, maybe
Galactus is the villain in it.
Yeah,
they show the shadow.
So what did they? So listen, this is what they did. They took a Galactus final boss in the last movie, and they're taking the same plot, but just changing the scenery to a 70s content.
Galactus. They had Thanos, didn't they?
No.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four was Galactus.
No. Fantastic Four was, but he was a cloud, because that was the Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Right, but it doesn't matter. That was the last movie. And
here's what I see that like the retro look that I have. I see it as kind of, and I hope I don't ruin it for people, but this is what I saw in my brain. It is old-fashioned yet futuristic. It's kind of like the Jetsons.
Yes.
Where there's a 70s motif happening, of course, but there's robots running around, and there's flying cars, and there's superheroes.
Right.
So I thought it's kind of like a Jetsons thing, to where they again, that hits our demographic perfectly.
Right, so, but it doesn't hit the Gen X. It doesn't hit the Gen Z. It doesn't hit the new generations. It doesn't hit that demographic that they're trying to reach. Maybe they're trying to change it up. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
know.
I mean, they already had two versions of Fantastic Four. Both of them weren't that successful. And now they're doing a third version. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, let's and let's end off with this. Come on, guys. I appreciate you coming, David. And Ben. Much respect, David. You got to come back again. We tell this to all our guests. Please come back again.
Plug his stuff, man. So he's got
so you have David Whalen here, Correct-Handed Comics. Check it out. We have his QR code. Don't forget the QR code here with our good friend Ben for his Instagram.
Stuff on his website, stuff on Amazon.
Yeah, right here. You go straight to his website. Everything is there. Just QR code. We'll also put in we're also gonna finish it up. We're gonna vamp up all our SEOs on our YouTube channels. I wish everybody a lot of success. We learned a lot from David. We had a great fun with everybody. Ben, as usual, I pick on him. He picks on me. That's our game. Everybody, much respect.
Is it?
I hope so. It's a good fun. A good TV. We learned a lot. We had a lot of fun.
I would argue with my mother, or she would argue with me, or whatever it was. We'd be about like doing gospel music and all that on stage, and somebody'd say, "I really like your act." I'm like, "What act?"
And I like that thing, Dave Portnoy, for letting us use his thing. Please don't take our channel down for using your feedback on Gladiator too. Anyway, everybody, thank you. Good night. Till next week.
Thank you, David.
We appreciate